Hey guys, how are you? Oh, it looks dark here. Let me get a light on. A couple lights on. It's beautiful out, but my room seemed dark. All right, how is everybody today? It is 1 o'clock Eastern Time, Thursday, and therefore you got me. And today's talk is going to be, what do you do to engage an irresponsible partner? Now, the first thing you should know, I'm Dr. Deb. In case you're new here, I've invited lots of people from different parts of social media that may know me, my blog posts, my emails, and so on. But in case you're new here, I want you to please participate, get involved, talk to me, argue with me, tell me you hate the title. I hope you do. There's a reason why I said that. So let's get started, okay? The first thing I want you to know is that a lot of these posts and titles come from people I've asked in my Facebook group for suggestions. So I'm very pleased to thank the person who recommended this title, and we're going to dig right in. So my first question to you guys is, there something about the title you don't like, or is there something about the title you love? And I do need to hear from you. I really need to hear from you. As I say week after week, if I just talk to myself, it's really boring. I want to talk to you guys. So chat in. Let me know. Do you like the title? Do you hate the title? And tell me why. Please chat in. I'm giving you a second. No one wants to say anything. It always works like that. One person gets the ball rolling and then everyone feels comfortable to chat in. Okay, I really want to know how you feel though. Did you like or hate that title? Let me ask you this question. Those of you who have seen some of the videos on this YouTube channel, or those of you who've been following my blog posts, or those of you who are in my Facebook group and following my posts there, is there something about that title that you know I wouldn't like myself? All right, I'll get to it. The word irresponsible it's a problem for me, so I like it. Oh, thank you. I love that you responded. Great. So, yes, so you have a person in your life, your partner, that's irresponsible, and it's a problem. I get it. The way I work with every single couple that I work with, and I primarily work with couples, I do see individuals, I do see whole families, because kids are always affected by what's going on with their parents, right? And my different programs that I have for group work also are individuals or couples. I don't have kids yet in my basically created programs. But one of the things you'll all recognize if you have been working with me is that we have parts of us, like you said, that you feel a problem. It's a problem in your life, and a problem is a bothersome thing, right? A problem kind of, it's an itch that you scratch, or you want to beat it up because it's that bad. And therefore, you might feel like you really want to put a label on that person and stick it to them, because they're out drinking, or they're, God forbid, drugging, or they're stealing, or they're gambling, or they're just not doing money in a healthy way, spending on things that are unnecessary, or they're irresponsible with their love languages to other people instead of to you. I mean, there's all kinds of ways, right, of being irresponsible. And so it's a problem. But if you want to fix a problem in someone else, the person you've got to start with is yourself. Let me give you a personal example. People say to me all the time, how do you work with so many challenging, difficult, frustrating people? And my answer is I really make an effort to understand where they're coming from. And once I know where they're coming from, I care about them. I feel for them. I feel like they are people that need help and I want to help them. So instead of finding them frustrating and difficult and challenging, which they may still be, I'm overridden. Those feelings are overridden by a desire to get to figure out how I can best help them. And the only way that I can best help them, guys, is not to be judgmental. Because that word irresponsible, it's you taking a one-up position, right? It's you being better than they are. Well, I know what's right and wrong. I don't know why you don't. And you can say to me, well, yeah, Dr. Deb, but that's true. I do know what's right and wrong. I don't know why you don't. And they don't. And it's really, really clear truth. It's not my opinion. It is. I know how to manage money. I know how to manage time. I know what to say to people socially and what not to say to people socially. I know this and my partner doesn't. So yeah, it's clear truth. It's real. It's the way it is. I'm not making something up. And I go, well, it's real from your point of view. But if we look a little deeper into the person you're with, we find some very, very painful things. How many of you, I guess we can't do a show of hands here. I don't know. How many of you that are watching right now have awareness of the partner who's irresponsible and their history? What got them to be irresponsible? How come? Because once you understand that, you have to stop judging them because you'll never get anywhere, right? So what are some of the reasons why a person might become this way? I made a list, and I'd love it if you came up with things I forgot or didn't think of on my list. So one is, let's say, as a kid, they wanted to make a better life for themselves, but they're little, they're 7 years old. They're all alone. They're literally all alone. They get home from school, come to an empty house because mom and dad are working hard and they cannot be there for them. And when mom and dad come home, they're exhausted, overburdened, and they just flop down on the couch and they don't have dinner ready. And the kid has to do something to make a better life for themselves and maybe even a younger sibling. So what do? Well, they can daydream. They could say, if only I had a lot of money, I could do this and this and this and this. And maybe later on when they're 10 or 11, they might find a group on the street to learn how to sell drugs. I don't know, could be. But they have had some kind of terrible trauma in their life, or maybe a little T trauma, not so terrible from your point of view, but maybe from theirs. Maybe they're that sensitive, that cause them to want to do better, but not have tools. So they go flights into fantasy to try to make things better, and that persists into adult life. And that, guys, is the absolute source of gambling and many, many other kinds of problems. Somebody says lack of financial education, lack of faith or strong character due to alcoholic parents. Thank you. See? So the poor kid, what's that kid going to do? The kid didn't have any better training. What does the kid do? So one answer is they have a flight of fantasy Wouldn't it be nice if I have money and then when they're grown up and they're working, they use up all their money too quickly and spend it because it makes them feel good for the moment, or they go out and gamble, or they go to the bar, or whatever. They're in an escape mode. Okay? Number two, maybe they had very punitive parents that were excessively punitive to a degree that was not required for just being strict. My parents were strict, they weren't punitive. And I toed the mark. I did what I was supposed to do, I followed the rules. But what if they rebelled? Because that was the only way they could feel like a person. See, when you have an excessively punitive parent, what happens is you can lose your identity. You can't think your way, you have to think my way. You can't want what you want, you have to want what I want. I heard a story, I may have repeated this here just recently, so it's fresh in my mind, of someone who, as a little girl, was invited to a family wedding, and she wanted to wear a dress that her mother didn't want. Her mother wanted her to wear dress number 1. She wanted dress number 2. And when she refused dress number 1, mother left, took her husband, went to the wedding without her, left her home. I call that overly punitive, and I call that a person who is going to lose their identity. Because had she given in and just wore dress number 1, she would have lost her identity. She would have capitulated. She would have gone into whatever mental place her mother was in instead of being her own person. And so she rebelled by saying no, and she got stuck. She got punished for it. Now, a child getting punished that many times for being their own person might eventually lose being their own person, or be that rebeller, the one who says, I'm doing what I want. And when you become the rebeller, if that's a word, I don't know, but I like it. When you become the rebeller, you grow up still rebelling. So if there's a set of rules, I'm not going to follow them. I once had a couple come to me, actually living right in my neighborhood. So they came into my office personally. And the end of like the second session, I said, well, now I want to start giving you homework. And the husband said, what? I'm not doing homework. I'm never coming back. And he walked out and he never came back. Why? He needed to rebel on principle. It didn't matter that my homework would have been helpful to practice. I just went to physical therapy and the physical therapist gave me homework. 20 times a day, he said, to practice. Okay. But listen, sometimes it's good for you. Do it. No, not when you're in rebelling mode. When your very identity, when maintaining your identity depends on rebelling, no, you can't do that. So you see, that is a second reason why a person just might be what we're going to call irresponsible, but it's not irresponsible for them. In that case, it's a matter of maintaining their identity or maintaining their sanity and not being depressed, right? In case 1, mother's not around, no one's giving them food. They go into another world so that they can at least be happy in this fake world, like gambling, alcohol, drugs, and whatever. Or they go into rebelling so that they can maintain their identity. But when you look at it that way, it's not irresponsible anymore, is it? It's very responsible. As a child, obviously, children don't have the maturity to know different. But they keep it up into grown-uphood, and it's hard, really, to get them to recognize, well, these are childhood things that you can let go of now, because what are they going to put in its place? Whatever you got growing up to give you a sense of safety, which the first child didn't have, an identity, which the second child didn't have. Whatever you got growing up to give you that, they didn't have. Okay, and I came up with a third one. It could be that a child simply feels small. Their parent isn't overly punitive. Their parent is there. Their parent may even dote on them, give them a lot of attention, do things for them, maybe do too much for them. And that child ends up feeling small because he or she doesn't really know what that person can do, what he can do. What am I capable of? They come home from school, they're not really in the mood to do their homework. What kid wants to do homework? I didn't want to do homework. So they say to their parent, I can't do this. I don't understand, which may be a lie. They may actually be able to understand. They may have the skills to comprehend it, but they're kid. They don't want to do it. So their sweet, nice parent says, now come on, 1 + 1, you know what it is, right? It's 2. Can you put 2 down? Anyway, so they don't know what they can do, what they're capable of. And they grow up feeling very small. They grow up feeling very inadequate. And so if they have access to funds from their job or whatever it is that's going to make them feel bigger, like become a politician, right? They'll do that. And that may be irresponsible. And their behavior may be very irresponsible from your point of view. But from their point of view, it saved them from feeling so depressed about not knowing who they are that they just, again, like the other kid, lose their identity. So these are 3 ways that I came up with. If you have more ways in your mind of how a person ends up needing to take on these irresponsible behaviors, then you'll understand that it's not at all irresponsible because it literally saved them. Now, it messes them up completely, right, in your marriage. It messes you up too. I get that. So then the question is, what do you do about it? How do you get to a place of helping engage them, which is exactly what you want? How do you do that? So the first step is not to think of them as responsible. Respect them for what they went through and the creative way as kids they came up with things to do about it. Respect that process in them. And then work on yourself. The first thing you really have to do in order to respect them and in order to heal from being a partner of such a person is to take care of yourself. If you're filled with bitterness and resentment, you're not taking care of yourself. Your focus cannot be on constantly judging them. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. Yes, that gets that message across to yourself so you won't ever backslide into tolerating something bad. You don't want to do that either. But taking care of yourself doesn't mean reminding yourself of how bad things are. The first thing you have to do is love on yourself. Give yourself plenty of TLC, which does not mean self-pity. It just means take care of yourself. You want to go to the gym? You want to make time for yourself? You should. You can also take charge of the bank account if it's possible, so that money isn't spent if that's where the behavior comes in that you don't like. Or whatever it is, you can try to set boundaries that are clean and healthy for yourself with love. Unless you want a divorce, then you don't need to have love anymore, I guess. It doesn't hurt to have love. But it's better, in my opinion, to help the person change. And the only way you're going to do that is with love and understanding. Now, love and understanding doesn't mean accepting the behavior. You can't do a flip from calling it irresponsible to just shrugging your shoulders and letting it go when it's hurting you and hurting the rest of the family. You can't do that flip either. What you have to do is clearly define what's bothering you. And you say to your partner, I love you dearly, but I can't accept this. So let's just say it's financial. I am taking charge of the bank account. Or let's say they're always going to the bar. I love you dearly, but I am going to move out, or you need to move out because it's a very unhealthy message that you're giving the kids. So we can't be together in one home until that behavior changes. I do love you, but this is not good for any of us, including you. But you have to take care of you. I'm just taking care of me. It's different from getting angry. It's different from yelling and screaming and knocking your head against a stone wall 20 times because of their behavior. It's different from being judgmental, being frustrated. All of those things eat at you. And what I'd like you to do to start with is take time for self-compassion. Ask yourself, close your eyes, and you can do it now. Where do I feel this feeling of frustration or something not good? Angry, judgment, where do I feel it in my body? I feel it in my stomach. My stomach's in knots. Or my throat feels like there's a lump keeping me from talking. Or I feel this pressure on my chest like I can't breathe. Where do I feel it? And then talk to that part of your body that feels the pain. Ask it, what do you want me to know? What can I do? And send it healing love. And that means when that happens, that your own anger will melt away. Your vulnerability may come out. You may cry. That's normal. You may grieve. You may be frightened. It's good to be aware of every one of your feelings. That's the beginning of taking care of yourself. So that when you talk to those parts of your body, and if your defenses and your own protective reactions melt away, you can truly heal what's hurting inside. That's you taking care of you. Let me read another comment. I tried that. You try to focus on yourself. They choose to do other things that aren't good. They may suggest changes they could make. No, you can't suggest changes they could make because you're not their therapist. And by the way, if you look in the Facebook group and you also look in your emails, if you're getting my emails, I wrote the post that you suggested on that topic, which is a different topic from this one. That was about problems with extended family members. And they hold that against you. Yeah, you're not their therapist. As I said, taking care of yourself means setting boundaries that you believe are good and healthy for yourself. If you cannot stand something that the other person is doing, then set that boundary of not being together at all. You can go into separate residences. If you can't afford that, you can separate within the same residence and have an official agreement that you're not really together anymore. You can't play it both ways. You can't say, oh, I can't do that, and then badger the other person for their misbehavior, their irresponsible behavior. Because as we have said over and over, that behavior comes from reasons that they needed growing up. And then they say you're controlling and manipulating, which you are, because you have an agenda. You can't tell them what to do. You can't suggest what to do. But really, the suggestion is what you really want. That's an agenda. That's not yourself taking care of yourself. It just isn't. You have to have the courage to start taking care of yourself by setting boundaries that will free you from this. And I suggest that before you do that, you work on the healing inside so that every word coming out of your mouth sounds like love and feels like love to the other person. When they feel your compassion, it will be a different experience for both of you. Right now, that isn't happening according to what you're saying there. And you can re-listen to this. The link for all the lives on YouTube always remains the same. So you start with self-healing. And when you do what you need to do for yourself, giving yourself love, what happens? First of all, when you see what the other person went through to develop the kind of protective mechanism that they developed, and you recognize that you didn't go through what they went through, whatever you went through, how bad it might have been, wasn't the same thing. You can be grateful to the one above that you had a few more choices in your life than to be molded to go the way they went. That would be number one, and that is compassion. That's compassion for yourself and gratitude to yourself and to your creator that your life wasn't as bad as theirs. It didn't force you into the directions that theirs did. When you have true perspective on your life, and go watch the videos that I've put in my playlist on YouTube to see more about what I mean. When you have that perspective on your life, then you end up being able to recognize what they went through and approach them with two things, love and patience. Now, you can say, oh, I've had patience for many years. Well, if they're calling you manipulating and they're calling you controlling, then even though it's coming from a place of care, it doesn't feel like it to them. It feels like those words, controlling and manipulating. How you are received is far more important than how you feel you want to be. For example, in child rearing, I once had a kid come to me who said her mother didn't love her. And I told that to the mother when the mother came to see me, because as a family therapist, I would see different family members at different times. And of course, I asked permission to ask that or bring that up. The mother was shocked. Of course I love her. What you feel is not what counts. It's what they receive that counts. If they're hearing love and feeling love, that works. If they're feeling manipulated and controlled, something is not going across from a true place of perspective, patience, and compassion. So all the years that you have suffered don't really count as towards the patience, because they never felt the patience coming from you. I know this is hard. I know this is hard. It's very hard. It's very frustrating. And that's why self-work counts. Self-work means spending time by yourself, with yourself, talking to all the parts in you that are hurt, and being the leader of those parts. And for everyone watching, the more you watch my videos in the playlist through to the end and into the next video, I have a finger pointing to the next one. You click that, and it should take you right to the next one. That is going to help you enormously towards really understanding how to do that. I noticed, I looked at statistics on my playlists, and people are only watching a few minutes. Please watch the whole thing. Get something out of it. It's there for all of you. Take notes. It's there for all of you. Any questions? Any comments? I'll wait a second. Okay, I guess people are not commenting. Then I am going to say goodbye. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care. Oh, somebody did. Wait. They let others control and manipulate them. I don't try to control and manipulate. I try to give them a gift of wisdom. They have to find their wisdom. Your job is not to help them find their wisdom. Your job is to believe that they have their wisdom already. I know that's hard, but that's your job.